What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're covering some more am I the butthole? If you're new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it truly helps out our channel. And we have a new member to our channel, Jen W. Thank you so much. You're really appreciated. And I've just noticed we've had a whole bunch of people who's been with as a member for over a month now, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I'm gonna have to find a way to thank you guys too. I'm not sure how yet, but I will find a way. So thank you very much. And with that being said, let's get into today's stories. Much love, guys. My God. Our first story comes from Fluffy Unicorn 007. Am I the arsehole for walking out on my father's funeral? Throwaway account for obvious reasons. Important info, I'm a Caucasian female, early 30s, married to a lovely mixed male, and we have a 2-year-old. I've cut contact with my family about 5 years ago, mostly due to my mother's narcissistic behaviour, and her being pretty down racist. She hated me dating my now husband, and the rest of my family condoning the crap she put us up with. Most of my other relatives cut ties with my family before I was born, or shortly after. I'm thinking it's once again because of my mother. The only one that kept in touch was one aunt from my father's side. This happened yesterday. Last Friday I got a call from my aunt that my father got into an accident 2 days prior and didn't make it. He died on impact apparently. She asked me if I heard anything from my family, to which I replied no. Important to know that I've been using the same cell phone number and email since I was 18 or so. She figured they forgot and asked me if I wanted to come to the funeral. After a few minutes of thinking, I told her I'd come if my family was okay with it and if she wanted me to. I explained to her that I wouldn't be going for myself or my father/family, just to support her. She said she'd want me there and she'd have no support, and called me later to tell me that my family was okay with me coming. So yesterday was the day of the funeral. The past few days I did not hear a single thing from my family. When I got to the location, my family members jumped right on top of me, telling me how happy they were that I came and that we should go to dinner, and told me all kinds of stories about things that happened the last 5 years. They basically acted like those 5 years didn't happen and we weren't there for a funeral. I know grief does things to people, so I let it slide and played along, but it made me feel really uneasy, and I made sure not to give any details about my own family or job, as they know nothing about that, and I wanted to keep it that way, as it was not the time and place for an argument about my husband. During the ceremony, they insisted I sat next to my mother. Everything started out okay, but when it came time for the speeches, my family insisted I speak. I quietly told them no, that I had nothing prepared, but they didn't accept it. So I got up and quickly said, "He'll be missed," and sat down again. They were visibly not happy with me, and my mother started shouting at me, telling me I was a worthless bitch, that I'd always treated them without any respect, and that was a bitch for not giving an actual speech about how amazing my father was in front of the 150 plus people that had shown up. So I looked at her for a few seconds, mostly trying to figure out what just happened, stood up, told her to enjoy the rest of her day, and walked out. My husband told me I did the right thing, and he was proud of me for keeping my cool instead of starting a shouting match. So is my aunt. But I've been bombarded with messages from people that say I went too far. Am I the arsehole? So they asked you to give a speech after the service has started. I don't know how that would make you the arsehole in any way whatsoever. Putting you on the spot like that is just not cool. I don't know what else you could say in that situation. The family just sounds like, much respect to OP, but their family just sounds like an absolute bunch of shitheads. I feel so sorry for that OP. But on the plus side, let's focus on the positive here. Her husband sounds like an awesome dude, so good luck to you both, and I hope you're doing well. But I think I know where it's going to go with this one. Do you think OP was the arsehole for not delivering a better speech, like OP actually could? Or do you think the family was the arseholes for putting the pressure on and all that kind of stuff? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote in that top right hand corner. Our next story is from Ash Nomad. Am I the arsehole for saying my dog was friendly? I was walking around my neighbourhood with my dog Bard, who is a lab cross German Shepherd mix. When my new neighbour walks up, she's carrying a smaller dog, some type of terrier mix. She calls out to me, "Is your dog friendly?" And I say yes. My dog Bard is friendly. She is the sweetest dog I've encountered on this earth. I've never heard her bark or growl at another living thing. Even other dogs have barked at her while on our walks. She loves other animals and even tries to nuzzle lizards. She doesn't get spooked or nervous during storms or fireworks. She is laid back. So when I told this woman yes, I meant it. I assumed she wanted to pet Bard, who loves attention from people, or was going to talk about she looks like a wolf because a lot of people stop us on our walks to ask if she's a wolf hybrid. Then suddenly, without warning, she sets her dog down on the ground who isn't wearing a leash or collar, and the dog runs up to us and starts barking at me and kind of nipping at my legs in the air. At that moment I'm taken back. I didn't understand why my neighbour thought my dog being friendly meant she could let us roam without a leash, against the law, and terrorise me and my dog. Wanting to avoid confrontation, I turn around to lead Bard, who is on a leash, back home. Bard is being a normal chill self, ignoring the dog following at our heels and antagonising us. My neighbour is standing watching the dog bark really aggressively at us without doing anything or saying anything for the last 5 minutes. I'm growing very annoyed at this point, as I'm worried the dog might actually try to bite Bard. Bard, for the first time in her doggo life, must have sensed I was agitated, so turns around and starts barking for the first time in her 8 years towards another dog. And it wasn't a friendly bark. I was shocked. It turns out she would go into protective mode if she senses tension from me. I assume she was the pet me to the robber type of doggo. The little dog doesn't back down, and they have this intimidating, snarling, barking battle. I'm trying to pull Bard back, but that little dog isn't on a leash or being restrained, so it keeps getting closer. That woman finally says something. "You said your dog was friendly," to which I replied, "Yeah, but your dog clearly isn't, and it should be on a leash. Pick up your dog now. If it gets hurt, it's your responsibility." She continues to complain how I shouldn't lie to people and say my dog is friendly. She walks really slowly, as if she wanted me to apologise before picking up her adorable but aggressive gremlin. I said she was acting entitled and should always make clear that she intends to let her dog roam without a leash before assuming it's okay. She finally picks up her dog and yells it sucks she has an arsehole for a neighbour. Am I the arsehole in this scenario? Should I have handled it differently because it's my new neighbour? Firstly, here's the doggo tax. Kind of want to know what the other dog owner was doing this whole time when it was snarling and barking. If that was my dog, I'd run up straight up to it and pick it up and think, Jesus, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. But just seemed quite happy to let this little dog snarl and bark at it. It could be a really dangerous situation to let that happen, especially if it ran up to a young child or something. So I'm going to have to say not the arsehole in the situation, but I know different laws and all that sort of stuff, so you might have a different opinion to me. So let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote in that top right hand corner. Our next story comes from Maybe Don't Kill Them. Am I the arsehole for possibly making my parents homeless? This isn't just me, it includes my twin brother. My brother and I, 17 male, were an accidental pregnancy. For context, our oldest sibling is 37 and has a kid who goes to our high school. Our nearest sibling is age 28. My parents always made it clear that we weren't supposed to exist. They were never abusive or neglectful or anything, but they were just kind of cold our whole childhood. My brother and I will graduate high school in about a week and will be 18 in 2 weeks. My parents have told us that as soon as we turn 18, we will have to pay rent. Neither of us had jobs, and we probably won't be able to get jobs right now. I confided in my sister that I'm really stressed about this, and she offered to let my brother and I stay with her while we're in university, completely free of charge. I'm really grateful for this, and we're planning on accepting her offer. I told my parents about this and they freaked out. I guess my mum was planning to move to part-time work, and they needed rent for my brother and I to keep up with the rent. They said they have provided for us our whole lives, and we should pay them back now that we're almost adults. I mean, it's true. They've given us everything we needed for 18 years, and I really don't want them to be homeless if they can't afford the rent, but I don't know how I'd even afford to live with them. Am I the arsehole? Edit. My brother and I both have some savings. We could conceivably pay rent for a few months. I also feel guilty moving in with my sister because she has 3 little kids and a cat to take care of, and I don't want to put any extra strain on her. None of my siblings have a great relationship with our parents, so my parents won't ask them for help. Edit 2. I'm actually shocked by the support here. I've been talking it over with my brother, and we're going to move out as soon as we legally can. Thanks guys. Also, I don't know how to add a photo, so for all of you asking for cat tax, I'm just going to tag my sister somewhere in the comments, and you can go look at Aris on our profile. Not sure I'll be able to find that cat tax, but I'm going to read this comment which I think is most relevant. Not the arsehole. Your parents are completely in the wrong. They have 6 children, 4 of whom are actual adults, and their life plan is relying on 2 not even 18 years old financially. That makes no sense. You don't owe your parents anything, to be quite honest. Whether or not you were an accident, you are their child, and in that regard, they owe you. You don't owe them by virtue of having birthed you. If they need financial assistance, they should go to their adult children. Don't worry about getting a job, worry about your education and your emotional well-being. Go and live with your sister and let your parents figure their own lives out. That's not your responsibility. And too true with that. But what is your opinion on this story? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote in that top right hand corner. Our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for telling my wife I'm happy that she had an abortion? Now, if you're sensitive to these subjects, you might want to skip a couple of minutes to skip this story. We've been married for close to 10 years now. I'm 37 male and she is 35 female. We've had 2 beautiful and amazing boys, 7 male and 9 male. In spite of this, something has been up with my wife lately. She's been acting very melancholy and distant. Just prior to getting married, there was a pregnancy scare. Honestly, I was terrified. I really didn't want a child at that point just yet. I would be ready a year later, but not quite at that stage. I told her my view that I'd ideally like to get an abortion, but this is ultimately up to her. I spent a lot of time praying that she would get an abortion and come to her senses. Thankfully, she decided that she wanted to abort, and then we had our boys soon after. Now she came forward to me and said she's feeling emotional about that time. I just didn't understand. Why is she bringing up this stuff from the past? Doesn't she care about our 2 boys? I told her that I'm very glad that you had the abortion. It was the best thing to happen to me, and now we have our boys, they're our priority, not what could have been. That's all not real. This angered her and she stormed off. Since then, she confronted me and she called me an arsehole and a dickhead. I said that while I understand she's upset, it's unfair to our boys. They're actual real children, whereas abortion was obviously unborn. She needs to accept this. Our boys are our priority. I don't know, I am conflicted. Now, am I the arsehole? Now what gets me about this post, abortion is an extremely sensitive subject, but the guy, it was loads of me talking about in this post. And there was another comment below that said this as well, that said, it came across as extremely self-centered and manipulative. The wife opened up her heart and it sounded like she wanted to talk about this a lot more, but he just played it down like it doesn't really matter, that her feelings doesn't matter about the situation, and that she should be prioritizing her feelings elsewhere, which I think is totally wrong. I'm not sure what you guys think about this. As I said, it's a very sensitive subject, so I'd love to know your opinions in the comments below, and don't forget to vote in that top right hand corner. Our next story is from Novel Path 8. Am I the arsehole for buying out my uncle's 50% share on our, now my, beach house, and thus denying my cousins their vacation home? When my grandpa passed 20 years ago, he left 2 houses to his kids, my mother and my uncle. My grandpa didn't make a will, so they both had a 50% share in each, and we were both entitled to using the houses in the same way. One of these houses is a pretty huge beach house that my cousins, my uncle's kids, and I spent our summers in, and is the crown jewel of the inheritance. My uncle had gotten divorced during that time too, 20 years ago, and that divorce left him in debt. My mother tried to help him settle the debt at the time, but we weren't too comfortable financially either, so she couldn't. As a result, the debt piled on and kept increasing. It wasn't pretty for my uncle, and he probably fell into a pretty severe depression. I'm only saying probably because it's undiagnosed. Divorce, in debt, and soon after his cousin stopped talking to him. He was a broken man and sort of withdrew from us all entirely. The situation remained unchanged for the next 8 to 10 years, at which point he started to slowly improve. He was still massively in debt and was paying it incrementally. But he started talking with his kids again. He wanted nothing to do with the beach house, however, since he only had bad memories of it. That, of course, didn't stop my cousins from using it as a vacation home. 50% of it was their father's after all. So from that point on, my cousins and I shared that house for our summer vacations, generally without much problem. It really is huge. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I've done quite alright for myself. Not all of it was through merit/skill, as I was fortunate enough to marry into a very wealthy family. Out of love, not for the money. My uncle was still in debt, of course, so I offered to buy his share of the beach house, but only if it was enough to settle his debt. As I said, he wanted nothing to do with it, so he was more than happy to sell. We consulted a few real estate agents to get a feel for the market value of the house, and we found out that the whole thing would sell for 300% of my uncle's standing debt, so half was 150% of his debt. He sold it to me and my wife for 130%. So now, 50% of the beach house belongs to my mother, who was okay with us buying and helping out her brother, and 50% to me. My cousins are absolutely furious. They were against the sale from the start and urged their father not to sell, but he was eager to get out of debt and the house meant nothing to him either way. So now they focused their anger onto me and are saying I took advantage of my bankrupt uncle and cheated them out of their inheritance. I never really liked my cousins, so I told them to go fuck themselves because I bought at fair market price, and if I was really taking advantage of their uncle, then I'd have just bought at 100% of his debt. They're still complaining, saying that I moved too quickly and that I should have given them enough time to grow funds to help their father get out of debt on their own. Am I the arsehole? Edit, people are getting hung up on this bit a lot. My cousin stopped talking to him. I was a little unfair here, but I hit the character limit and couldn't elaborate. Don't let this affect your judgment too much. My uncle divorced when he was 35 and his oldest daughter was 15 or so, the younger 12. It wasn't entirely their fault they stopped talking to him since their mother took them away. I guess it is their fault for not talking to him as adults, but I'm sure they had their reasons. Or maybe their mother just poisoned them against him, I don't know. The fact of the matter is that they rekindled their relationship before they started using the beach house again. I mean, they're saying that you should have given him more time to get the money together, but he was struggling for like, was it 10 years or so? So he was struggling all this time and they never gathered any money or gave any intentions that they were going to in the meantime. It sounds like they were just mad because they lost their beach house and their inheritance at the same time. It just basically sounds all they care about is what they're going to get from this and not their father's debt or their father's mental health. I'm not sure though, you have to let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote in that top right hand corner. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if you have, why not just click that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And there's another video on your screen right now as I'm talking, so why not watch another? Treat yourself. It's on me. And I will see you in the next one. Much love guys. Goodbye now.